Yo, kiddam. Welcome to another episode of the E Squared Show. Don't have my chair reclining this time. Trying to be a little bit ergonomic. Welcome to an episode. You already know the titles before. You know, what's he gonna say this time? What's the clickbait? What does the Tupac Yanni have to say? Well, obviously, you know, we're going to be talking about the AKJ epidemic that is taking over the month. This is the Sikh episode that you get every once now and then. You know, we go Punjabi, whatever. I'm going to expand more, but the way that these episodes have been coming about is the Discord is just popping, man. Like, the type of bande we have in there, we got people who are studying under Mahapurush and people who have studied like different Guru Granth Sahib beers and stuff. Like, we got some pretty insane, talented minds or inquisitive minds that it's basically just changing. Like, my mind is blown or broken. Not really. Like, most of the stuff I hear, I'm like, yeah, it makes sense. But my mind's being broken on the regular, quote unquote, of this type of stuff that the Discord is offering, you know? The fact that the Kathavachiks run these like gambits of money and these mafia things and the type of abuse happening in the dulls and the, like, it's crazy. But this episode is dedicated to the AKJ because I see them as like the cornerstone of essentially rotting out the Panth the hardest out of everyone, and for very specific reasons as well. And so I've compiled enough things and have enough experiences to know what's going on here. So if you want to join the Discord, you can only find it through the Patreon and buy the merch. All right. Let's start this pod. All right, so let's start with this whole AKJ thing. Like, where does this come from and whatever? Like, these guys are not like a Paratan, and for the layman's listen, they're not like an old school group. And AKJ stands for Akhand Kirtani Jatha. So they do like look at themselves as like some group or something that came about because of one man named Bhai Ranthir Singh. And this guy, Ranthir Singh, was like kind of unhinged because he had an unhinged mentor, this guy named Teja Singh Pasor. And to give you context for how like fucking crazy this guy was, Teja Singh Pasor was like so anti-Hindu everything, because if you're not truly like educated and you truly don't like understand things, and this will haunt the AKJs forever, like this mindset, and they don't know it. Like, this thing, if they ever come across, they just will never, like, this is going to fly by their heads. They just don't understand shit. But if you don't understand things at the highest level, right? You know, when we have these debates in the Discord about like the levels of Guru, like Guru Granth Sahib is matching. If you look and extrapolate knowledge, like the Guru Granth Sahib has like existentialism, the idea of like Descartes and Kant, like all these things can be seen in the Guru Granth Sahib. We're talking like the idea of nomina and the self and all these things on like such a high level, right? If you got like the average AKJ banda who's never done Santhya, just goes to these rants and stuff and got them to try to read like, you know, Nietzsche or stuff like this, like it would just go over their head. And just like that, Guru Granth Sahib has actually gone over these people's head. They don't understand what they're actually reading. They think they do, but they're reading it at such a dumbed down level because they're just taking the words for what they are. And so let's do a very simple analysis of how you can understand. This is Plato level shit that I'm about to explain to you, right? If I asked every single person listening right now, if I went to one of these AKJ camps and I gave everyone a piece of paper and a pen, I said, draw a knife. What are the chances that two people will draw the exact same type of knife? Is the knife 10 inches, 9 inches, 8 inches? Is somebody going to draw a combat knife? Is somebody going to draw a kirpan? Is somebody going to draw a knife that they've seen in a movie? Is somebody going to draw what what is the idea of a knife? Everyone has their own interpretation or idea what a knife is. Now think of that for every single word in the Guru Granth Sahib. You will get out of Guru Granth Sahib what your nature is. And now how do we define like your nature? Well, your nature is kind of a byproduct of Hukam. That's as trippy as it gets. If you want to get into the very deep level of esoteric, dharmic, ethereal knowledge of the aggregate of souls, as the Buddhists call them, or the Upanishads and stuff like that. Like you get to levels that you just cannot fathom the depth that Sikhi or the Guru Granth Sahib is in. So every word is going to be dependent upon how you have your nature. If you were somebody who's very rough and tough around the edges and always down to fight and stuff like that, you'll read the parts of Guru Granth Sahib that are always like hating on different things or shitting on different things or Dasam Granth this, like with this level of like ferocity and ferociousness for you to meet you at your needs. This is where now if we get into the argument about like Kant of if the Guru Granth Sahib cannot truly give you objective reality because you as a human you do not have the ability to understand objective reality. That's the phenomena that Kant talks about. This is just a very obvious, like, okay, it's not obvious because other like Sikhi prachariks would have made this point, but they have never. But like we actually cannot understand the objective reality of what the Guru Granth Sahib is saying. It's impossible. It doesn't matter how much of a Sant or Brahmgyan you are because you are susceptible to your human body, the Maya, the illusion of existence. So you actually cannot fully comprehend it for the way that it's supposed to be comprehended. You can only meet it at the place where you are. So that's what I'm saying with the nature argument. If your nature is somebody who's very peace-loving, you'll find all the peace-loving stuff in the Guru Granth Sahib. If you're somebody who's very hunky-dory, kind of dumb and dumbed down, you're going to see very dumbed-down things in the Guru Granth Sahib to make you understand that. If you're an extremist, you can find those things in Guru Granth Sahib. And we have other religions as examples for what happens and this is the thing. If you can study, let's take all of Sikhi and put it in one box. Let's study everything else in the world, all the other religions and philosophies. You study those and you come back. You can either go, well, when we do this thing that we critique them for, we're doing it right. You can live in that delusion, or you go, when these other religions have people completely butchering the words of their holy books or scriptures, that's because the human beings are flawed. And even in this example, it's because human beings are flawed. You can look at it and be consistent about it because human beings are flawed. You know, one thing, we're going to get into this in like a later thing, like there's like a sick conspiracy happening that people are not aware of. And it's actually goes all the way to the top. It goes all the way to the Akal Takht. And it's actually like 100 years in the making. And this is something that like we're going to try to explain this conspiracy. But like the very simplest thing is most of these prachariks are towing a party line. These Kathavachiks, these guys that talk, this is why don't go listen to these guys. I'm telling you right now. Don't go to the camps because they're either, if they're in like in a very extreme niche group like the AKJs, they're going to tell you something completely mind-blowingly stupid that's going to make you stupid. Or if you're going to the Gurdwara and listening to these guys, they're going to tell you a version of Sikhi that's like they're allowed to tell you. Because why would Kathavachik stray from the party line of the SGPC or whatever is being taught to them when that's how they're getting paid? The reason why all these guys, so basically like this is just a fact, and I'm basically blowing open like me, I'm basically telling you insider knowledge when I say this. Kathavachiks, I don't care who they are, what Samprada, the greats, guys who have recently passed away, Babbe and whatever, behind closed doors, if you really got their trust and you became like a follower and like were a student, they'll tell you a completely different version of everything. They'll give you a 180 version of Sikhi that you've never heard them talk about publicly. But publicly, they need to get paid, so they're gonna mislead the Sangat. Because at the end of the day, Kathavachiks are getting paid. Guys who go do these talks and speeches, they're getting paid to do that. So they need to tell something to keep you engaged. If that means, you know, adding a little masala over the years, so be it. And that's why you get 100 years of masala on things, because now this is an example everyone knows. Actually, not everyone. Again, people are dumb. Back in the day, during the time of the Gurus, Raggis and rababis and people who did kirtan would get paid more for how good their kirtan was. And there's a very famous story of this where, I think Guru Arjan Dev Ji or one of the gurus was presiding over the darbar, and then these kirtanis came and they were doing kirtan, and they had come up with these beautiful rags, and they were hoping to get all the money from the petta, like the collection plate of people like going like, oh, we like this, and then it wasn't that much, and they felt like it was a conspiracy of the guru, and it's like this whole thing, right? The point being is that like it was kind of known that for providing a service to the panth, to the community, the Sikh community, you would get paid for it in some way, donations or whatever, right? And so these Kathavachiks needed to outdo each other for popularity to get paid more. I'll tell you a story about, there's a guy who was the Jathedar of Patna Sahib named Sukha Singh, who was manufacturing fake beads, fake Guru Granth Sahib Sarups in the handwriting of Guru Granth Sahib, and being like, we found these real Sarups of Guru Granth Sahib. Like, this is the type of stuff that's been going on in the Panth. This is the rot so deeply embedded in the Panth that these Kathavachiks on stage will tell you a completely one story. Remember I was telling you about Sikh history is wrong? They'll tell you the version, the publicly allowed version, but behind closed doors. And I've now officially talked to some of these guys, the students and stuff. They go, yeah, they agree with me. What I'm saying is actually what they will actually say behind closed doors, that is actually the truth. Because again, now to really interface with Sikhi is at a high level. It's not as simple-minded as you think. And then the first problem goes now, what is the correct meaning of an arth or of a line in the Guru Granth Sahib? Well, the correct meaning is how it resonates with you and who you are. The Guru will meet you at where you are if you continue on the road. It's like, okay, it's not like you got a piece of information out, book it. Well, you keep going, and your understanding keeps. The more understanding, the more knowledge you're collecting, the more wisdom. If you understood the history of what was going on in India, devoid of Sikhi, prior to Guru Nanak Dev Ji, of the Hindus and the Buddhists and the Muslims and the invasions and the wars and all this kind of stuff, the caste system, then when you read Guru Granth Sahib, it's going to hit you in a completely different way. You understand why the Guru is saying these things about the Brahmins, or why they're saying these things about the caste, because you understand, you have context. And the more context, the more information you have, the more you open up Guru Granth Sahib. Everything is not in Guru Granth Sahib. You have to, like, one huge thing that we're missing in Sikh history today is the fact that a lot of our Guru-inspired stories, Sakhis, Janam Sakhis, like lines from the Guru Granth Sahib and stuff are Persian poetry inspired. And we haven't even cracked that door open. How many these Kathavachiks or Santhya teachers are experts in poetic literatures that understand the Shahnameh and these things and understand the parallels? One very famous parallel in like Sufi literature is that like when a Sufi saint dies, the body turns into like a bed of lotuses. And in the Janam Sakya Guru Nanak Dev Ji's death, they also write that the Guru Nanak Dev Ji's body was under a thing. They uncovered it and it turned into roses. And so the dummies of the Panth will be like, well, then that means that the miracle happened and the Guru really turned into roses or whatever the fucking flower was. And they're not seeing that there's analogy, there's metaphor. Have you ever heard of fucking Robert Frost? I think that's his name. The poetry guy or Shel Silverstein, when they talk about poetry, about, the two forks in the road, do they literally mean some guy's walking, they're happy, two forks in the road? It's like, no, these are analogies, these are metaphors. But it takes a very high level intellectual mind to understand what's the metaphor, what's the analogy, and what's the reality. And that's where we have completely failed as a Panth. These Kathavachiks have failed us. The education system, the Gurdwara system. You can basically say the modern Kathavachik pipeline of these guys towing the party line for what they're supposed to say to get paid is the modern Masand system. And they're lying to everybody. You corner one of these guys, get them to really trust you and believe in you, and then ask behind the scenes about the real truth, they'll have a completely different story. These guys aren't dumb. Like, these guys from different sampradas, the knowledge and levels they're studying is like actually very high to create high intellectual ideation. The problem is they're not going to get paid for it. If they get paid telling you that this is actually a hard like path to follow, the hot takes that I have, You know, they have them behind closed doors. I can promise you that. But if you haven't heard them from these guys, it means that you're just not that guy. They can't trust your level of intellect. They think that it will break your brain, which most likely it will, because you're not ready to get this type of knowledge. And so they're not going to tell you. But someone like me who's been a degenerate and has never given a fuck, I just went, I'm just going to figure this shit out for myself. I don't care. And then figuring it out, the stuff by myself, reading it myself, looking and researching, talking to other people, linking different pieces of information, I came to my own conclusions that then these guys are like, yeah, that's real. I'm like, okay, cool. But we can keep discussing. That's why this Discord is beautiful. But obviously, like, it's so closed off now. Like, I don't trust nobody to be in there. And like, we still got some dummies, and we're like cutting down the flock every now and then. But this is the level of rot that is in Sikhi. These camps, these fucking prachariks that come that don't know a lick of history, don't know how to study history, don't know fucking philosophy, don't understand human psychology. To be fair, they don't have a fucking clue about reality as it is. And they're trying to tell you about Sikhi, bro. Fucking give me a break. The whole point, the two biggest things, like some of the biggest things that Guru Nanak Dev Ji gave was, first off, question everything. And number two, find the answers for yourself. Here, we've broken it open. We've broken the dams open. And this goes back to history context. The Brahmins kept everything closed off. This is not for everybody. You know, Dharam is not for everybody. It's only for the high caste people. Low caste people have no access. The Guru said, fuck that. Everybody gets access. But it's not just going to pour into you magically. You have to go do the work now. Just like how the Brahmins were obsessed with becoming the best at knowing all this knowledge and whatnot. You know, I'm going to have some interesting guys on the pod. I don't know if they'll be guests. They might be on the radio show. So definitely like hop in on the Ruckus Ave for some of these guests, or on the Patreon for sure. They'll be there and you'll see the clips and stuff. But that's not going to fully be on this, because again, like that stuff has to be behind a paywall, because listen, I'm not doing a seva. Sorry. I'm not that guy. Like, you want this real knowledge, pay for it. Show that you're fucking willing to actually go, because all these fake prachariks, they say to you they're doing a seva, but behind the scenes they're taking a fucking paycheck and lying to your face. I would never do that. I'd rather you fucking pay me, and then you can hear our fucked up conversations and crazy shit that we're talking about and come to your own conclusions. But anyways, back to the AKJs. Okay. So, this guy, Teja Singh Pasor, he is quite possibly one of the most cuckoo guys in all of like modern Sikh history during the time of the Singh Sabha movement. And so one of the black pill truths that no one's ever going to tell you is that the beards, so Guru Granth Sahib beards, so Granth, the book aspect of it, have been tampered with multiple times throughout history. There's people that have done research for it, and whenever they do research for it, they're completely destroyed by the community, because the community does not care about questioning anything anymore. It's everything has been said by some guy greater than me. It's an appeal of authority, and that's kind of like been beaten. And a lot of these problems do start coming during the British, because we're in a self-preservation time, and they ate us out, man. They fucking turned us into ass faces. They knew how to because they already had these problems in Christianity. And so they knew exactly how to bird brain us and use it against us. And so they basically created an appeal to authority, because the British forced us to always look at them as the authority. You know, anyone that's ever had a bapu or a fucking grandpa in the army knows that if you were fighting with the British, you could never get a higher rank than a captain, because the British held all the higher positions. So they always showed you who's boss, who's authority, who the fuck runs this shit. They held all the positions as judges, of governorship, as fucking military. And so that mentality of like appeal to authority has now come to us, that we believe all these sampradas are correct or whatever. But anyways, I'm whatever. There's a lot to talk about in this and all this. And so I'm going to do my best. But okay, so the AKJs. So Teja Singh Pasor, this guy's a fucking cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs type of guy. He does not like the fact that like there's a lot of this like Hindu reference, that there's Hindu Bhagats in Bani in the Guru Granth Sahib. He's like, fuck all that. I'm only gonna manana. I'm only gonna believe in the work of the gurus. Everything else doesn't matter to me. And this was also happening because the Arya Samaj movement and other things, where basically like they were claiming like Sikhs are Hindus. So what ends up happening is like you have to go so extreme the other way so that this extreme doesn't pull you in. So it's kind of like a effect of like, it's like I think Hegel talks about this, where you have it's like a synthesis where you get a thesis, antithesis, and a synthesis that then creates your resting place. Where, so the example I think he gives is like the French Revolution. It starts with a really fucked up monarch, and then they go fully to the extreme of anarchy and rule by like the idiots and the fucking mobs, and then it swings once again, right? So the first swing is to anarchy, the second swing is to Napoleon, and then the third swing is it kind of levels out and becomes like a parliamentary system, and it becomes like a government and whatever. But you need extremes. You need to get to two extremes to pull you back into the middle. So that's why I would have to, if I'm trying to do something about this, I would have to go so extreme the other way and say everyone's a fucktard, everyone's dumb, don't believe any of this. Because then some people be like, well, you're extreme, you're crazy, and then they'll start to see some of the truth. It'll trickle in, and then they'll get to the synthesis, the final version, which will be somewhere in the middle, understanding both sides of the extreme, right? The moderate side or whatever. And so that is how you have to do it. Sadly, it's just human nature at that point to understand it. Anyways, so Teja Singh Pasor goes super extreme, and he attempts to write a Guru Granth Sahib bead without any of the Bhagats Bani, bury it somewhere in Nanded, in Hazur Sahib, like around Hazur Sahib, and he tried to get someone to bury it, and then his plan is to get it buried, so they were going to bury a Sarup, discover it and be like, oh, this is a long lost Sarup, the actual one of the Gurus, of Guru Gobind Singh Ji, that shows no Bhagat Bani, this is how it's supposed to be. That guy, that crazy fuck, is Bhairan Thir Singh's mentor or buddy or whatever the fuck, influence. And so Ranthir Singh didn't go full fucking that level. He wasn't that like crazy or whatever, but he did start to mold Sikhi into a way about him. And this goes back to the nature thing. He had a nature, and he had Sikhi fit into his nature of how he was. It's like the most highest level of ego, because why is it that the AKJs today are so closely resembling to how Ranthir Singh was? This is not an accident. This is a very clear, deliberate, okay? Fucking, as Mr. Smith would say, deliberately. You deliberately made those cookies, and you deliberately put them there. And so that's what Ranthir Singh did. He deliberately did all these things and practiced a certain way. And it's basically like a hadith, right? The hadiths of Muhammad are how Muhammad lived, right? And so a lot of the Muslim community lives according to hadiths because that's how Muhammad lived. A lot of AKJs live their life because that's how Ranthir Singh lived. You know, do you see what I'm saying? And so the AKJ are cluster fucked with the two worst things, because both of their not both, they are basically simultaneously very Hindu and very Muslim. The following of a single character, like if you ever talk to these AKJ guys, like real AKJ guys, they just fucking are full of themselves and jizz themselves when it comes to like the jail chittiyan, the chittiyan that Ranthir Singh wrote in jail. I don't care about any of that shit. Cool, you're Sikh, you did your somewhat like rebelling against the British and stuff and went to jail for it. You know, I think he got all the Gursikhs to be allowed to wear their kashare and pug in jail or something like that. Like, great, that's good, man. Cool. But the fact that this entire lineage of these people were born out of you, and the way they administer Sikhi today, you are 100% fault for that. You are a net negative to the Panth. You don't get no love from me for that. Just, it is what it is. And one of the first biggest red flags that I think anyone can see is the Bebeiki lifestyle, okay? And so what, out of these, which did Ranthir Singh really fully do and which did he not do? I can't say, but now whatever it's amalgamated into, it's his fault because the AKJs are like his brainchild off of his practice of how to do things. And I've listened to enough of the shit that they've had to say, and no, hell no. Okay, so the first thing is Bebeiki lifestyle. What is this Bebeikiness, all right? Bebeiki is the belief that when you take Amrit, which also is like they have their own Amrit where they like administer Nam Dard and stuff. It's like this weird whole thing. But this Bebeiki lifestyle is the belief that it's a type of everything has to be made from scratch by a true Kalsa Sikh. Like that's basically what a Bebeiki is. That you have to, everything has to be in Sarblo. You have to make it from scratch. Nothing from the outside world. Nothing from, no other person who's not Amritari could have their hands in the making of your food. It's just for you, by you. And the only exception to this is if other Bebeiki Singhs, other Sarblo Bebeiki Singhs make something you can eat from their hands. But anybody else, you can't eat their food because they're not Bebeiki. Is this not the most stupidest thing you've ever heard of in your life? Does this not sound like the most non-Khalsa thing ever? However, this is actually a very Hindu practice, okay? And I did my research for this one, boys and girls. I pulled up some Guru Granth Sahib Tuks, okay? Some lines. And I've always just said and assumed, like, this is the most Brahmin shit. And how bad it is this, right? In the meat episode, I talked about how these Bebeiki fucks, they will... First off, let's talk about this, right? There was a time and place where Bebeiki made sense. It was a time when we were at war, when we actually had to fight in jungles and stuff like that. And we had to know where our food was coming from. And you could only trust other Singhs. Because when we were in the jungles, when the Khalsa was in the jungles, and they were going to Paitaru Singh and other people in the villages, they had to trust that they were Sikhs as well, that were giving them food, not to have them killed, because there was a price on our heads. So in that instance, it makes a lot of sense that you only want to eat from other Amritaris. It totally does. Like, yeah, what if this guy is just going to poison me to try to kill me and my family with fucking fucked up food so that he can give my head and get the 20 rupees from the governor or whatever? So you, in that sense, it makes a lot of sense. But throughout our Sikh history, man, it's literally like all these different people who were clearly not Sikhs in Janam Sakhis are giving Guru the Guru food. They're not Sikhs. And then the best part of this, though, is if you ever make these points is, well, anybody who believed in the Guru is technically a Sikh. So if they gave the Guru food, then they were Sikh. So blah, blah, blah. But then your counter argument to that would be, well, they were not Bebeiki because the idea of Bebeiki didn't exist. So they were not Amritari Sikhs. And then so what? Like the Guru is just like magically blessing food. Well, then the idea, if the magical blessing of food happens, then isn't it actually the Naam you have? Doing Barney can make any food good food. And then Sikhi, obviously, listen, all the evidence across all Sikhi supports what I'm saying. I don't even give a fuck. You think you're an AKJ reading this and going, fuck this guy? Well, why does all the evidence throughout everything, all the Janam Sakhis, everything support what I'm saying? Where, you know, even the story with Pai Lallo, the other guy, he still touched his food. He still touched the corrupt guy's food to make a point. And in the story, he doesn't eat either of the food. Actually, just shows you an example, but he's still touching it and stuff. Like, they don't even believe you can touch that food. It's like completely impure. And then, so like, there's stories of like when they have these langars, they have to make separate food by separate, like Bebeiki Singhs have to make separate food for the Bebeiki people there. This is caste exclusion perfectly explained in Sikhi. It's actually so sad. Like, if you allow this to ever happen in your house and you're Gursikh and you're supposed to be Sikh and you're allowing a separate Sangat meal and another and a separate Bebeiki Sikh meal, this is the Brahmin and lower caste distinction perfectly made. Because the Bebeikis, they will say that you straight up can't even eat the food if somebody else touches it. Whoa, what? That sounds familiar. Oh yeah, the Brahmins used to do that. The shit that Guru Nanak Dev used to shit on them for, these guys today are doing. So right off the bat there, like that, I don't care what else you have to offer. You're a fucking, you're a lulla in my book from right off that. And if I want to give you the Guru Granth Sahib Tuk on this, okay, first, so pehla socha aap hoye, soche baitha aaye. First, purifying himself, the Brahmin comes and sits in his purified enclosure. Suche age rakhyo koi ne petyo jaye. The pure foods which no one else has touched are placed before him. I'm not going to read the Punjabi for the rest. I'm just going to give you the English translation. Being purified, he takes his food and begins to read his sacred verses. But it is then thrown into a filthy place. Whose fault is this? The corn is sacred. The water is sacred. The fire and salt are sacred as well. When the fifth thing, the gay, is added, then the food becomes pure and sanctified. Coming into contact with the sinful human body, the food becomes so impure that it is spat upon. That mouth which does not chant the Naam and without the name eats tasty foods. O Nanak knows this, such a mouth is to be spat upon. Okay, so what is Guruji saying here? Very obvious, right? It doesn't matter how pure you think your food is. If you're not doing Naam Jap or you're not thinking about God or remembering God, then your food is basically garbage food and it's impure. It doesn't fucking matter. And so these guys that are in here, the Sikhi that they're pervading, that they're pushing, is completely the antithesis of what the real Sikhi is. And it's not in any line of any Gurmat, real, true, humble, humility, Daya, Taram. It's none of that. So you would argue actually, Bebeiki food is the most impure food. It is the worst food that you could possibly eat because it is creating a distinction between we are this, we are better than you, and our food cannot be touched. And now I'm going on to a AKJ fucking forum board of complete Goombas, these fucking idiots are. Okay. This guy writes, coming back to the question of eating from Sarbulo Bebeikis only, for the most part, 99% of times, it is not okay to eat from others who don't keep Sarbulo but keep Bebeik. We know that Sarbulo is a rahat of Guru Sahib, and if someone deliberately does not keep his rahat, then we ought not to eat from them. It is only in some extreme case where due to ignorance or some other huge majburi, which means need, someone does not keep full Sarbulo but keeps full Bebeik that you may eat from them. This Das at one point used to propagate that eating from non-Sarbulo Bebeiks is okay as in days of Paisab. It is used to be allowed, but practically Das had never eaten from a non-Sarbulo Bebeiki. Then a few years ago came a time when for the first time Das had to eat from a person who was, whatever this guy says, this like, how crazy is it that like these people literally can't eat at Harmandir Sahib? Somebody who's poor and maybe is not a Sikh, but with all their hard-earned last few dollars is like, I'm going to make a meal for a Gursikh. And the Gursikh's like, I can't eat it from you. You're not Bebeiki. Dude. Like, what? This is why people don't want to become Sikhs, bro. Why would anybody... If you don't have the fucking tatte to fight against this bullshit, why would you ever join Sikhi? This is the perfect stuff that pushes people away, because if you're reading all the Janam Sakhis, you're reading all the research, all the history, all the Guru Granth Sahib, Tuks, all the Dasam Granth, and then these are what they're telling you that their extrapolation of it is, would you not like lose your mind and be like, what the fuck has happened? What is this? And then these Goombas go into this deep, like, this is so funny, bro. Veer Sukhdeep Singh is correct in pointing out that Guru Sahib's hukam is to not indulge in worldly ras and to seek naam ras. Having said that, it is also a fact that eating gulab jamins or laddus or barfi may be indulging in worldly ras, but is not a karat. A karat being like something that breaks your sikhi. Eating gulab jamun or samosa or other tasty foods cannot be equated to eating non-Bebeiki food, which is a karat. Which... like, holy shit, bro. Basically, this guy is saying that, like, if you eat food that's not originally prepared by Bebeiki Singh, that's a karat. That's like breaking your amrit. But if you eat these tasty foods made by them, then that's fine. What the fuck? Holy shit, bro. And here's the thing, right? Let's have a little conversation on food, right? The person who sees God in the food is a gurmukh. This is stuff that people don't want to hear. Like a chef that's truly obsessed. I don't care if it's Gordon Ramsay. Somebody who's truly obsessed with the food that they're making. And if you go to, and first you might think that's ludicrous. Like let's take Gordon Ramsay out of this, because obviously that comes with a lot of baggage. And I'm bothering some of you people and being rage baiting on purpose. But let's go to Japan, where in Japan they see the kami, which is God, in everything. So when they make you a meal, they make it the best because God resides in that meal. Is that not how a Gurmukh should think? So you're going to reject this person because they're not Amritari, whatever. Then does that not go back to like where the Janam Sakhis were people who were not Amritari? And technically it's not even Amrit. It haven't taken Khande Di Pol. Those people are serving the Guru with a humility in their heart, beyond humility, that they're not worthy, that you're better than them, that you are somewhat on a completely different dimension of purity, that you cannot eat their food. Like, this is what I'm talking about, man. This shit gets me so mad that like I would want to like roll up to Ransabai and just fucking like kick the guy doing kirtan, grab the mic and be like, you guys are so fucked up. You guys have ruined Sikhi. Everything you're doing right now is Hindu related. This doesn't even matter. You might say this is the most disrespectful thing ever, but this is all Hindu-fied and Muslim-fied that I don't give a fuck. Peace. Fuck you. Bye. Like, that's how angry this stuff makes me, because I've heard stories, and I know one for a fact, which was at the Surrey Kalsa school Ransabai, this woman who was originally Bebeiki but was going through chemotherapy, they rejected her from doing Langar Di Seva because she was going through chemo, and it made her impure. Think about that shit, bro. Everyone deserves to get fucking murked for that one. This woman who's about to die wanted to do Seva of the Sangat, and she was rejected from doing so because she was viewed as impure. That is so heartbreaking. And that's what these crazy fanatics have done. Talking about fanatics, I mean, like, the craziest fucking Karku movement came out of these clowns. Babbar Khalsa Flight Academy, bro. Like, these guys are insane, you know? And I'm not going to get into the crazy controversial stuff, but I'm going to go like, these guys were like moral policing Punjab before they even had won the war against India, and would literally like drive by to places and go to weddings and be like, you can't serve alcohol, you can't dance. They would run up on people, girls. They would intimidate girls to cover their heads and stuff. And like, no wonder, like, they tried to moral police a people that they hadn't even like they were acting as if moral police, religious police. Have you gone to a country with religious police? They suck. These are the people. Like, they need to be like gone, and they need to be like, shoo them out, man. They shouldn't even be considered part of the Panth if it was up to me. I'd be like, yo, AKJ, you guys are just completely destroyed Sikhi for everyone and everything. And then let's go to Nam Dirder, right? Nam Dirder, again, is an idea that comes from the other Sampradas, I think, especially the Nahangs. And they have it where, like, they need to teach you how to do Simran, right? And this is how fucked up it is, all right? And I don't give a fuck if they think I'm lying. I know this is all facts because I've experienced it firsthand. I went to a Khalsa camp, and I would see guys that I went to school with and stuff, like, coming out of the Darbar. Like, we had to go for Amrit Vela at 4 a.m. They would be coming out as we're going in, and we're like, yo, aren't you going to go? They're like, we already did our part. And you would hear, like chika, like, you would hear, like, guys humping each other in the Gurdwara, which is, like, their naam there, right? Which is basically going, right? And so it's like somebody who's, like, fucking, and they're like out of breath. Like, that's what it sounds like. But it sounds very like husky and gorilla-esque. It's really gross, to be honest with you. There's no like grace and elegance to it. It's a very like, it's a freaky, demonic type of practice, in my opinion. And so you'd hear these like chika coming out of the Darbar Hall at the Khalsa Center Miracle Valley and their little Gurdwara thing they built. And these guys would come out while we're going in to do like Nityanem. And we would just be like, yo, what are you guys doing? Like, we have to all go. Like, we already did it. I'm like, why would you guys already do it? Like, we're going to do it now. He's like, oh, because we can't do it with you guys because you guys haven't had Nam Dirder. You guys haven't had the same Amrit and the same training as us. Therefore, we can't do Barney with you guys. How amazing is that, yo? Slap these motherfuckers for real. Like, this is the type of shit that they're on. Does it not blow your mind that they think like this? Like, what? Like, it's going to only get worse, right? Like, with time goes by, because, like, technology and AI and all these things are going to keep, like, making the world more complex. They have to go more conservative, more Wahhabi, essentially. And Wahhabism is, like, a very strict interpretation of Islam. The AKJ is going to have to keep going stricter, because more problems keep fucking, like, emanating from their groups. And then they need to have, like, a tighter chokehold, until it just becomes like unfathomable to live. It becomes a moral policing against each other. And then they will like implode, and it just completely gets destroyed. But I mean, already stuff like this, like why would you go? And that brings me to like their Kalsa camps. Like you go in Kalsa camps, like I remember this guy who is like a closeted homosexual, Manveer Singh, UK wale. Like basically a bunch of stuff has come out and a bunch of people have talked about it now very openly. Like he's addicted to gay porn, which what's fine, man. Like do you, like honestly, like I'm actually not like that's bad, but like he's addicted to gay porn, and they tried to get him married twice, but then like the second time they got him married from like this Indian chick, she like caught him watching gay porn, and then they were just like, dude, what the fuck? And then they like just kind of like broke off the marriage, sent her off to back to India and shit, just like, oh yo, like whatever, hush hush, right? But like whatever, it is what it is. And this, I'm not the one breaking this. That stuff's been there and stuff. And like I actually on this, like I feel for the guy, right? You're closeted homosexual, you're not like, what can you do? And in a weird way, they are accepting of this stuff in the AKJs, because there's like plenty of guys at the camps that were like gay as fuck. And they were just like, yeah, they're just not going to get married. They're going to be behungams and stuff. I'm like, that's cool, whatever. Like, I don't care, man. On that, like, I totally do believe it's like you're born gay and stuff. So, like, there's nothing you can do about it. You know, when we talked about this on one of the old episodes, one Singh reached out and he was like, I'm gay and, like, I don't like him. Like, it's okay that you are, man. Like, it is what it is. It's just, like, you have to deal with being a Sikh in a different way, you know. Gristi Jeevan of marrying a wife might be hard for you because you're not into women, and like you don't want to subject a woman to that if you're not into that either, right? Just for the looks and stuff. So it's a completely different thing. But the problem is that like he kind of gets a little like it's like, I don't know, man. Like there is a little sense of the fact that like the part of the story is like he's like had like a porn addiction, which because like the guilt and shame just becomes like more erotic to you, that you just keep like fucking spiraling that like, I don't know, man, having a guy like that around young boys, because like men who are closeted and don't have access to releasing their sexual urges in a healthy way can end up putting that on kids. And these Khalsa camps are full of kids. And I truly believe this. I would never fucking send my kid there, just because I don't know who these guys are. I don't know who the Kathavachiks they bring are truly behind the scenes and stuff. They brought, remember Sukha Singh, that one fucking UK guy who was like touching guys and doing calm tests, or he's like touching their dicks and shit. You guys remember that guy? Then remember the Nirvair Khalsa Jatha guy, the guy who is like doing mouth to mouth Simran, who's like, who do that dukh tera ditha bhai, like that pedo guy that everyone listens to his shabd and stuff. Like this is the rot I'm talking about. That's why I don't go outside. I don't go to any of these places. I chill at home, man. It's disgusting out there, yo. Sikh spaces have become disgusting. And for those of you wondering, this is a bug. I'm about the Khalsa still. But this rot, it needs to be talked about. So these Khalsa camps, the other problem, Khalsa camps are basically an AKJ camp, and the biggest issue about them isn't the fact that they have questionable Prachariks or Kathavachiks coming there. The questionable part about it is they're telling you a version of Sikhi based off of their own principles, pretending like it's the universal version of Sikhi when it's not. You should never ever listen to somebody telling you how Sikhi should be. Go figure it out for yourself. There's a reason why Guru Granth Sahib is written in Punjabi. Punjabi is one of the most easily accessible languages to be able to interact with, especially if you're Punjabi, bro. If you can't read a lick of Punjabi, but you can speak it or understand it, you can. I've been said this in 6 weeks. And I think I'm going to do a course, man. I bought the fucking whiteboard. I'm going to teach people Punjabi. Fuck it. But it takes you about 6 weeks to learn, and you can learn it and basically do Guru Granth Sahib Santhya for yourself, or even read the English versions. I think a new version of like of understanding of the Guru Granth Sahib that me and other people have been talking about, and which we do in the Discord, funnily enough, goofy guys like us or degenerates like myself, is we go arth to arth, like line by line, reading the English line as well. I'll read the Punjabi, I'll read it in Punjabi and Gurmukhi, and we just talk about it from our experience, what we understand about life, the lines. What do you think this means? What do you think this means in conjunction to the context or the guru saying it or whatever? And that's how we get it. But when you go to these camps, they're telling you what to think. They're telling you, no, this is what Sikhi is. This is what you do. This is what you don't. These things are all miracles. Like, the problem with the miracle argument is very simple. If you believe that things are miracles, you're fully lost. You can never truly be a proper Sikh, because if you look at Christianity, Islam, or whatever, when there's things that are so questionable, like why is it talking about slavery, or why is it talking about sexual slavery? Like, that's kind of weird. That you don't think that's kind of weird and stuff that these books say that, and then they'll say, well, no, because Muhammad is this, that, the other, and you're like, well, how do you know that Muhammad or Jesus or Moses are thinking? Oh, because they did miracles. So how do you disprove a miracle? Oh, you're just not a believer. So you can't. So when it's the greatest argument, non-argument, because your argument is basically unwinnable. You can't beat somebody who thinks that their special person did everything by miracle. How do you beat that? You can't, because you can't prove it. You can't disprove it. It's faith. It's blind faith. It's complete blind faith. So when you get back to the Baba Deep Singh thing and you just believe it's a miracle, oh, because this story said that they promised that they would, well, those places, those Panth Prakash, those Suraj Prakash, like, they also write a lot of other crazy shit. Do you believe that? You know, Suraj Prakash is very like an anti-negative Banda Singh Bahadur. So the problem you're getting into is either everything is true, which is also the parts you don't want to be true, but you have to admit that they're true because the same guy's writing them. A. B, none of it is true. Well, then that's basically throwing the baby out with the bathwater, as fucking Peterson would say. Or C, there's a nuance. Certain things are to be taken an analogy, metaphor, realistic. Maybe they didn't have the full picture. This is their best version of understanding historiography or the history. You look at it with the gray. Most people are not capable of that. And so most people get taken for the best ride possible, which is this. They get completely turned into goofsters and gaffsters. And so the issue with Kalsa camp is they're just going to tell you, do this, do that, do this, don't do that. And your whole life is basically, it's a cult. It's a slave mentality. Don't question anything for yourself. It's the most like programming shit possible. You should be able to figure this stuff yourself. All the knowledge is out there, especially now in the digital age. You just have to do the work. And if you're too lazy to do the work, then this is going to be much harder for you if you have to start believing these fake Kathavachaks, these fake people, these fake Khalsa camps. I mean, I've had horrible experiences at the Khalsa camps, to be honest. Like, one of my buddies got punched in the head by a fucking, like, Sevadar type guy, which we never understood why. Till this day, I don't know why he did that. They were just mean to me because of whatever. They were just mean to me all the time because of, like, whatever reason. And I guess they were kind of right in hindsight, because I'm talking mad shit. So, you know, don't fuck up my experience next time, and I wouldn't talk shit. And they were just such cuckoo ideas, bro. Nam hugs, man. This is another one. This is a thing where these Singhs will get together and they like hump each other or gyrate their chests into a bear hug circle, which is the picture of this thumbnail, of this video. And they start doing Vaheguru. Again, that manic, demonic, like weird, that thing. And they're like humping each other in these circles. And they say it's because of like this line. I think I have it here. Where is it? Damn, I totally forgot where it is. Oh, it's right here. The line is, "O saints, come and embrace me. Recite to me the sermon of beloved Vaheguru's praises." Now, Avo Sant, okay, I can't read it probably. The writing's too small. But basically, that's what it's saying in English in Ang 95. But the thing is, they take it so literally. Like, so much of Sikhi is taken so literally that you instantly, like, on different levels of understanding Sikhi, you're done, bro. You've basically disqualified yourself. Because if you're literally looking at that literally, come and embrace me, as in a hug, recite to me the sermon of beloved Vaheguru's praises. And first off, it doesn't even say Vaheguru, but it says, Mere Pritham ki main katha sunaya. Katha meaning like the words of like God, essentially, right? katha being like speaking, and even we, and here's the thing, if they understood deep, right, Buddhism has a similar word. I think it's, oh damn, it's like damn it, man, it's like a Pali word for katha, but it's like vata or or fuck, man, I'm totally forgetting what it is, but it sounds exactly like katha. That's where it comes from. So you would know that the context for that is actually a Buddhist one, where like it means to like speak about these things. So it means like, and embrace me doesn't mean literally hug me and like talk in my ear like a drunk dude. It's more like let your energy like hit me with the words that you speak. Not touch me, dude. Like, there's weird behavior, dude. Like, yeah, you can hug people and stuff. And it's so funny because in this, they're also like, I've been lately seeing that people are singing are hugging each other. Is this not wrong? I also know if it is not a budget, but it is still wrong, isn't it? Like, what the fuck, dude? Jesus Christ, these people are cooked in the head. So when you go to Kalsa camps, like, you'll start seeing dudes like hugging each other and doing this shit. And it's like, it's all really weird and culty vibes. Like, an amazing horror movie could be made of like Kalsa camp, AKJ run stuff, because it's really freaky and weird if you don't understand it. And you're just like, what the hell is going on here? This doesn't make any sense. And you know, when we laugh at like 3HO doing like weird chants and yoga and Barney, it's the same energy, bro. Like, what do you want me to say? And the issue is that they're just so far gone at this point that like, what can you really do except like, I'm just like talking shit about them. And I think my argument is like fucking fully fleshed out. Like, I don't care what anybody has to say. I think I'm talking facts. So there's that. I would never recommend sending your kids to any of these Khalsa camps, Sikh camps, or whatever camps. Like, Courage United used to be kind of good, but it's so funny because, and this is like a different thing, but like, I remember Bhai Jagraj Singh went there and all the girls had questions from after, and they were all just dating questions. They're all just questions about relationships. Because that's the thing, like, women, that's the stuff that women care about. And that brings me to the next biggest point, is that the AKJs have done the biggest destruction known to man, known to the Panth, of the femininity of women. They have completely destroyed a woman's sense of femininity, her sense of self, her beauty, everything, single-handedly. It's one of the worst travesties you could possibly see. And it all starts with the fact that Ranthir Singh, who's not a guru, he's just a guy, said that the Panch Kakars are Kashara, Kada, Kirpan, Kanga, and not case in as in hair, but keski, a pug. Which means if you are a woman and you want to take Amrit, even though women shouldn't be taking Paul, it is what it is. That'll be a different episode. Basically saying that if you are a woman taking Amrit, and it's actually not the word, it's not even Amrit, man. It's Khande Di Paul. If you are a woman taking Khande Di Paul, that you have to wear a pug. And you have to embrace all the things that a man has done. Which actually does very interesting, it kind of does prove my argument that Paul isn't for women, because it proves that Amrit, Khande Di Paul, is actually a very masculine thing. Because the equality isn't showing men become very feminine or feminine-like. It's showing women become very masculine instead. Which goes to the point that all the people who are red pilling you on like women aren't supposed to take Amrit, that's a constant argument that Amrit was, or Khande Di Paul was, the transformation ritual to turn men into warriors to fight. And this was like the juice that they needed to get them there, not for spiritualization or a fucking one-way ticket to Sachkhand or Sachkhand points. This is the initiation to a military order. Some military orders have blood rituals. Some military orders have all types of weird rituals or orders. This one, Khande Di Paul, is to become a warrior in an army, is to become a soldier for the guru. And every single aspect that you see of what Sikhi is through the male eyes, women have to do that, which literally just proves that this is a male only thing. Because why are women coming to this side? It's not like they're evening it out. And the Guru clearly talks about it in Chitra Pakyan, and it's just littered, bro. Like, read the thing for God's sakes. Read the Guru Granth Sahib for once in your life, or the Dasam Granth, and see how Guru talks about the feminine quality of women. The Guru has this beautiful line in Dasam Granth where he goes, her beauty was so immense, she made the moon shy. Something like that. I love that line so much. So what is being said there with lines like that? It's that a woman's beauty is actually very unique. And when you turn her to look like a man, it destroys who they truly are. What is the nature of a woman in Sikhi? That's a completely different question. I'm not going to fully answer that today. But it's something you need to think about. And the Bebeiki lifestyle, the no meat eating, like these guys are so cuckoo when it comes to the meat debate. It's insane. It's no wonder that the women in your circles have beards and mustaches, because their hormonal imbalance is so insane because of the stress that this lifestyle causes them, the cult-like community, the fact that they have raging hormones from being women who want to date. Remember the Coors United camp reference? That because they have these things, it completely destroys them inside. It completely hollows them out and leaves them with the real issues of being a woman. When a woman is about femininity, sensuality, beauty, nurturing, these elements. They're not at all. These idiots have completely forgotten that human beings have a masculine and a feminine traits to them, both. But a woman needs to have more feminine traits and understand her masculine ones, and a banda needs to have masculine traits and understand the feminine ones. But the issue became this. This is not a conspiracy. This is a fact. Actually, I shouldn't say a fact, but this is basically how my take on how all this happened, right? The British had to completely destroy the idea of Amrit, Khande di Pol, for men because they needed it not to be what it was before, a military order, because it's a threat. The idea of giving Khande di Pol to men to fight against the British as a transformation ritual. No, we're not doing that no more. But they knew that Sikhs believed in taking Khande di Pol. So what did they do instead? They started to float the idea that, oh, it's actually for Sachkhand. It's actually for spiritual purposes, not for war. You know, originally the idea for Kalsa that took Khande di Pol was you need to carry 5 weapons on you. All right? I got 5 guns. I've got 5 swords. I got 5 daggers. Like, I'm about that. I truly believe that part of it. And it was about keeping 5 shastras on you. That's why Shastra Nama by Dasme Pita and Guru and Dasam Granth is like all about that. Okay? Having 5 weapons on you at all times. But we need to take that part out. Oh, so this is actually about the saint side. This is about the spiritual side. And to further dilute it, you include women into the equation. Because let's look at it like this, right? If you want to turn, let's say there's a game being played by boys, and you want that game now to be manly. How would you do that? Well, you basically have this game that boys are playing. You get the men to start playing it as well. Now it's manly. Okay? So you have this thing that's not supposed to be its true essence as a tool to fight against oppression and an extension of that time fighting against the British. You basically allow women to join into the fold of it so that it muddies the waters because women aren't going to fight. Let's look at the Vadde Kallukara, right? People always like to be like, well, what about Mata Pak or what about this? Well, what about the Vadda Kallukara? Or what about the large massacre that happened? How come all the women and children are on the inside and all the Singhs are on the outside, then you don't hear about no women fighting? What about then? All the men we know, Jassa Singh Ahluwalia, what do you call it? Whatever, man. There's hella names, man. I don't know everything on the top of my head. All these guys have taken Khande di Pol, but like there's no women in that story apparently. And then everyone agrees that 90% of the Panth was wiped out that day. So then how come all the people that are wiped out, mostly Bande and women, the Bande are all in historical context have taken Khande di Pol, but not the women? What are these facts? I can't compute, blah, blah, blah. So, like, you're just on the wrong side of this, man, and it's fine. And, I was once too. I was arguing that, women, trust me, I was on your side once too. And then I had to go underground and basically, like, learn this shit for myself. And I did. And I'm like, number one most hated person on the internet, or Punjabi internet, or whatever. Tupac Yandi, blah, blah, blah. So, the issue became that now women, they completely destroyed that aspect of them. And women haven't truly been able to understand what their role in Sikhi is because of this. It's forcing them. So the British do that, and now it's okay for women to take Amrit. But what is their role? Well, their role is never fully defined because most Sikh spaces were male spaces because they're always usually wartime spaces. And then we get hit back to back with feminism encroaching because we always looked at Sikhi as egalitarian and we're so advanced because the Guru was also like women are equal to men, that we went full like, oh, feminism is women being allowed to do what men do, so then that's what we must be doing as well because we're so forward thinking. The Gurus are already on this vibe, and so we completely destroyed that sense by women should just be doing what men are doing. And now they look like men. And that also says for like, you're into dudes, you're into these girls that have beards and look like you. That's fucking weird, dude. Very weird. Which is again why Sikhi is not, it's not palpable, it's not approachable because it just looks so bad. The aesthetics are insanely bad. These things are like, they destroy you in your mind. One thing you'll hear is like, Guru gave you your body, the hair, but then wouldn't technically... Because look, man, if you got philosophy on your side and logic, you can out-logic any of these goofs. And they'll just have to resort to like, oh, the Guru said. Well, where does it say that? Well, it doesn't say that. Well, then, oh, it's a miracle. And this Sant said it, right? Those are like your top three arguments. The Guru said it. Well, then where did he say it? Well, I don't know, blah, blah, blah. The Sant said it. Okay, well, why does a Sant have anything? Shouldn't you be able to find the answers for yourself? Isn't that the whole point of this? It's a miracle. Okay, well, then I guess then nothing is possible to speak about. And so I would argue now, in this part of where we are in this circle of me talking this shit, is that the women have been completely cooked. And they need to have their own revolution and stuff, because what also sucks is if they start getting on this vibe and understanding and their brains start breaking, right? We have girls in the Discord, they be regularly in these talks. Their brains get mangled because they just can't like, whoa, like this stuff is like, it makes sense. It's what they intuitively felt, but they just whatever. That it sucks because for women, like it's such a culty mentality that like you're not allowed to stray from it. Like, what? And I've talked about this in other episodes, but this is like why core has gone wild, because like when these women, and a lot of the AKJ women are fucking horny freaks, and I don't blame them. It's sadly because when they start getting real hormones and everything, it's just suppress. Like they're basically the equivalent of like Mormons, or like really stupid Christian groups that just tell you to like abstinence is the key, abstinence is key, with like understanding reality of like, women and boys want to get into relationships and stuff, and it needs to be done in a healthy way. Or you end up with that story where the AKJ fucking family in Bakersfield, their daughter and cousin were having an incestual relationship because they were AKJs, okay? And these AKJs were having this incestual relationship. The girl gets pregnant, and she gives birth in the bathroom, and then the mother, to avoid the bestie, kills the baby in the backyard, and then tells the daughter something like, well, we gave it up for adoption, but then she finds out she didn't. She told the school principal, and then the mother got arrested for manslaughter or baby slaughter, or whatever the word is, and the dad killed themselves. This is the AK, like, that's a very extreme example, but it's an example that has happened now, which shows you like, holy, and if you look at the girl, bro, they AKJ'd the fuck out of her. She has a pug. She looks like a boy, and she's like getting mogged and mangled by social media and all this stuff. And so what are they going to tell you is like, TV's bad. And there are more extreme versions of the AKJs. You have the Dasandwar, the Tapoban and stuff. They're fucking insane freaks, man. And we'll get into those too. But then, so the pipeline is very simple, right? Girl is a girl. And Mother Nature starts calling and says, hey, it's time for you to have a baby, which makes you have very uncontrollable desires to have a baby because that's what nature is. And since we're not in India anymore and people aren't getting married at fucking 13, 14 years old, those feelings persist and they get worse. And then because the internet exists and you're not some dumb pindu who can't read, you understand what sex is and you understand what porn is. And then you slowly, the desire gets so insane that you are so horny that you need to experience what it is. And now it's a dirty, dark secret. This stuff is also why, like, certain like the Catholic Church also had the whole deal with the pedophilia and stuff. It's because these issues become like these dark issues underground, pushed down, and it becomes this brain rot that happens, right? And so girl example I'm talking about, she doesn't know how to deal with these issues. Now what can she possibly do? Either she tries to talk to somebody about it, A. B, she suppresses it as much as she can, or C, she starts to experience it on her own. A never works because people are not willing to share this information. It's too taboo. The subject of sex is so taboo in AKJ circles. They don't do kathan, chitropakyan. They don't talk about these things. It's abstinence, wait till you're married, and it doesn't work, doesn't make sense for the modern day. So they're cooked on A. On B, the more suppression actually leads to a worse outcome. It makes you even wilder, freakier, hornier. That's B. C, now you experiment, and now the worst, it's the worst thing because it's not done in a healthy way, and the guilt and shame gets mixed with pleasure. So the more guilt you feel, the more shame you feel when you are getting horny and whatever, and doing the act. The pleasure starts the brain. So if people need a fucking biology lesson, when you have sex and orgasm, your brain releases fucking dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, whatever, and it can start to influence your mind. So porn addiction is actually very bad amongst boys. And my mom told me about some kid who's like Sikh. They're in like some Sikh family, and the mother found the kid was like addicted to porn and was fucking up his life and shit, you know? Like, these are real issues that no one wants to talk about, but this is the E-Squared show. I'll talk about what I want. And so porn addiction is mangling boys' mind because, like, you hear like horror stories. I listen to David Cho. I love David Cho. And David Cho was talking about on Joe Rogan that, like, kids email him, like, you know, I started watching porn when I was 11 and, like, I can't even get my dick hard. And I'm, like, 21 now unless I watch, like, the most egregiously fucked up porn and shit. Because it's, like, you're frying your receptors in your brain. Your dopamine brain. Like, it actually has an effect. It's not just, like, this, you're, like, keep doing it. It's, like, why certain drugs, like Molly, which it fries your SSRIs, your whatever that SSRI means, it fries those receptors in your brain, and you almost, like, can't even feel happiness. So when these girls are doing this, that rush of dopamine, serotonin mixed in with guilt and shame starts fucking, like, making a monster. It amalgamates. Now the more shame and the more guilt they feel, the more it turns them on. And now you're really dealing with some demonic shit. That's why in the community, I can't say the names because that's too fucked up, but there's girls who are, like, nymphomaniacs, pug kuriyan, that are, like, famously public on, like, social media and stuff, that are nymphos behind the scenes because they experience this, like, process that I just talked about. It's pretty sad because there's just not an open ability to talk about this stuff. The monia, the brown monia, they don't have the same issue because they're dating. Parents don't care. Fine, you're dating and stuff. They have, like, sexual experiences at a very timid pace because, yeah, they have a boyfriend. They start kissing or whatever, and it slowly starts to, like, ramp up as they keep getting older, and then it's just normal. It's very normalized, even though, you know, they see parents aren't talking about this stuff. It's like society enough is telling you, like, relax, you don't need to pop your cherry just like this, right? But when you're, like, completely, like, just look like a man, have a beard, be banda as fucking shit like that, and then it just it just cooks your brain. There's just no way around it, you know? And, like, it's so funny because even, like, the more deeper you get, like, actually, this is not really related to what I'm saying, but it's just so funny. And so, like, you a lot of these, like, weird sexual stories that you hear keep coming out of the AKJs because they're also one of the only groups that fully is, like, trying to integrate women into their jathebandi. But you can't do that, like, in an earnest way without issues arising of interdating and all that kind of stuff. You know, at least Bluntpuri doesn't have like force all the girls to wear pugs and stuff. Like they have that much akal to be like, all right, it's all fine and stuff. And so this issue just gets worse, blah blah blah, and then like you have all these weird sex sook scandals always coming out of the jatas and stuff every now and then. You know, unmarried couples, yeah, having like children out of wedlocks and just all types of wild shit. You know, and all these things are true that I'm saying. Like, if you know where I'm from and you know these people, these communities, you know that they have happened. They're fucked. Okay. So one of the other, so this just goes along the lines, like I'm looking at my notes, like of just forcing beliefs on these people at Amrit Sanchars, at these camps and stuff. Like it's pretty wild. Then they completely don't believe in like eating meat, which is like a whole, I don't even want to get into that, man. But there's like a funny story my buddy was telling me that like these like AKJ kids came to his house, had pizza, and they gave him ranch, and then they heard there's egg in the ranch. They're like spitting it out like because they thought it was like poison. Like, oh my god, you gave us ranch and stuff, like we have to take bishi. But like it's just so funny, man, like this stuff. And they also have these like weird punishments and like humiliation rituals. This I've heard of, I haven't seen, but I've heard that it happened that this like baba, this like this uncle, this whatever, a baba who would always be at the programs. He'd always say Vaiguruji Ka Khalsa very loudly. He did something wrong and he had to do peshi. And there's like a line in Guru Granth Sahib somewhere. It's like Kala Muh, like you blacken the face of whatever these guys that do bad things. And I think they took that way too literary, and they blackened this guy's face and made him crawl to the tabya, the Guru Granth Sahib, without his chola or something. I maybe added the masala on the non-chola thing, but I heard that he had to crawl with black on his face as like they didn't think it was a humiliation ritual, but that's clearly a humiliation ritual, right? To like do better. Like, why would anyone want to be a part of this, man? Like, truly. It's usually because you're like a loser and you actually don't have a community of people that are like normal, and you have to get this like crazy. Like all the AKJ people I've ever met, I've never met cool Jathebandi people or whatever. I think they're all goofs. Like they're always their mentality is like, if you're not one of us, we will not accept you. The Nahangs are like that, Teksalis are like that, AKJs are like that. That's why I don't fuck with any of them. And do what you want, I don't care. And even so, now if you get back to like the Hindu stuff, right? Like even Ransabais, like this is the funniest thing. Ransabais are a Hindu thing. Jagrat, that's what they're called. Jagrat, like jag meaning staying awake and rat meaning night. Like this is actually something you can look up for yourself. It's called a Jagrata, where Jagrata or Jagran is a Hindu ritual involving an all-night vigil with devotional singing, dancing, and prayers to a deity often goddess Durga or Shiva. Whoa, that sounds like a Ransabai. That sounds exactly like a Ransabai. Like these Ransabais are basically raves for kids. Like that's how they experience them, and it's like supposed to be family orientated, but they're like weird chica modding and stuff, and like random guys just saying like it's just weird behavior, bro. And kids are going there to hook up. Oh, who's on at 9 p.m.? It's like a festival, bro. You know what they need to do? They need to just, you know what they need to do for Ransabais? Like, what's wrong with this? Get the Ransabai, put all these cool lights everywhere, like strobing lights, and like light it all up and stuff, like cool lights, because they do it in the dark anyways. So like do some cool lights and stuff. And then everyone should take Deg, and it'll be a rave. It'll literally be a rave. Like they just need some drugs and they just need some cool lighting, and they already have the other stuff. Like there's guys who like literally arrive at like 1 a.m, like, oh, Harpreet Singh is gonna be on now, Jagbal Singh is about to go on. Like, you know, it's like literally like these raves. Like, what is going on, man? You guys didn't want to be Hindus, and you guys literally, that's the funny thing, right? Like you live long enough to see yourself become the villain or whatever. Like you live long or you exist long enough to see yourself become a Hindu. And then you go like Tapoban, they're just completely like whoa, woo, wah, wah. Like I remember there's this Tapobani chick or woman, I guess, and she had a kid, and for the sake of the story, let's say this kid's name was Simran. I was like, what do you call it? Because she knew my mom, so I was like hanging out with them, and I'm a kid, bro. Like I was a kid myself. Like this was when I was in like grade 6 or 7 or grade 5 maybe even. And I was like playing with the kid who was like 2-3 years younger than me. And I was like, oh, Simran, come over here. And the mom heard, and the mom literally scolded me. She's like, his name is Simran Singh. And I was like, that was it. Like she was like, whatever. And then I told like this older like guy uncle who's like spoke English and stuff. I'm like, dude, like I don't know what happened. Like that was so weird, right? Like, did I do something wrong? And like, oh, you never called him by his real name. He was an AKJ too. I'm like, what? What the fuck? Like, and then now that chick just went fully off. She went fully one extreme and then went the other extreme. Now she's like in a fucking fitness influencer on Instagram. She does like Botox and lip liner and fucking filler and all that shit. But she was this. That extremism stuff. If you can truly like ride out the boat on that, you're crazy, dude. Like there's something like actually wrong with you on like a full like holy what the fuck. And so, yeah, like this pseudoscience that they believe in, like the Dasam Dwar, like this thing, the bug needs to like contain your spiritual energy from leaking out of your head, man. Like there's some shit straight out of an anime. Like you could make a really good anime and horror movie about the dumb shit that these guys believe in. What else am I gotta add? The ranch thing is just so funny to me. Yeah, like it's just like. They also like had this thing like you can never take off your kashada even in the bathtub, and then so like you have to have like 1 foot in 1 foot out. It's like, bro, really? Like this is what the guru is gonna get mad about? Like, not that I don't have love and humility and eat from people that cook honest food from me or whatever. It's like this is where it's like the stuff that they have added. It's just so like it's so restrictive and like completely destroyed yourself and your Sikhi that like how could you possibly interface with being a Kalsa or a Singh or whatever in these things. Like I just feel bad for all these people, you know. Like I listen, my heart goes out to you. Like you don't need to be with these people. You don't need to like listen to them. You don't need to be in their circles. Like there is freedom out here, and that's one of the biggest problems. Like girls or guys, when they get access to people who are like a lot more chiller, but they're still good Sikhs and stuff, like in other Sampradas or Jathebandis, they're just like, yo, peace out. I'm out of here. And the people still in there, like they end up getting to this place of like, I'm not religious, I'm spiritual. Like I just go there for the community and blah, blah, blah. But they're cooked, man. It cooked their brains so hard that they just can't have like a normal life anymore. And it's a sad thing. You know, bachao, save your kids. If you can. I mean, the parents are the ones that are the most cuckoo and stuff, and especially like women that fully buy into this and they force their kids into it and stuff. Like that's some of the worst offenders are women in a weird way, right? It's like a toxic thing where like women believe like this is truly the way, and then they fully indoctrinate you into like this is how you gotta be. And it's like, and here's the thing: we can debate the merit of the beliefs. But we have enough psychological study of like communities and cults and how they operate. And if you look at all of them, right? Let's get ChatGPT to help us out here, right? And so if you're an AKJ, I'm gonna ask ChatGPT, what are some telltale signs a group or community is operating like a cult or being cultish? All right. Leadership dynamics. A single leader or inner circle is treated as infallible beyond questioning. Right there, saying? Disagreement with leadership is equated with betrayal, sin, or weakness. Right there, saying? Leadership often controls not just organizational direction but personal lives. Right there, saying? Control over members, pressure to cut off from family, friends, or outsiders. Bebeiki 6. Monitoring of behavior, relationships, or even thoughts. Sounds pretty like you guys. Strict rules about dress. Ooh, can only wear keski. Or strict rules about dress, speech, or lifestyle that mark loyalty. Have to wear bugs. Have to wear certain colors. Certain this, certain that. Outsiders are painted as dangerous, corrupt, or enemies of the truth. Ooh, E squared? The group alone is said to hold salvation, knowledge, and legitimacy. Oh, you have to take Khande Dipol because that's the only way you'll get to God, and it's through our version of Amrit, Namdrid, and whatever the fuck. Heavy use of fear, leaving the group equals doom, dishonor, spiritual ruin. If you become a normal person, then you're not going to meet God or Babaji. Love bombing new members with attention only to withdraw if they resist. No more nom hugs for you. Guilt, shame, or emotional manipulation. That was this point. Guilt, shame, or fear used to enforce conformity. Any doubts are reframed as personal flaws, not legitimate concerns. Ooh, if you have these feelings about sex or this, it's because you are messed up. You are the problem. Guilt and shame. What did I say? Guilt, shame, or fear used to enforce conformity. Information control, limiting what members read, watch, or study outside the group. Ooh, you want to learn Sikhi for yourself? No, listen to our camp, come to our camps and listen to our kathavachaks, the people that we have approved of. By the way, that's not just an AKJ issue, that's an everything issue. The gurdwaras that our mom and dads go to all across the world, it goes all, that corruption, that's a different episode, that goes all the way up, but it's very clear here as well. Demonizing critics and discouraging contact with them. Oh, this person has these points against us and they're telling us that we can find the truth for ourselves if we actually do the research. No, they're bad. Obviously, when I'm doing the dumb voice, that's like I'm pretending to be them. Redefining words or ideas to align only with group's worldview. Case is not the kakar, it's keski. Exploitation, whatever, financial exploitation, labor exploitation, whatever, I don't know. That they don't really do. Emotional, it's more spiritual exploitation, I would say. And lack of transparency, secrecy around finances. Okay, the secrecy is, go ask an AKJ what happens at their Amrit jar, and usually they'll not tell you. If they're like really diehard, you have to like actually do it and whatever. Like, this is literally red flags, psychological things that have been recorded about what cults are like. And the AKJ fit into every single one of these cult-like things. Sorry to say, you have been branded as a cult against the teachings of the gurus by me. Who cares what I have to say, obviously, but that's my conclusion. And I hope you enjoy this podcast about the AKJs and their crazy shit that they do. And with that, peace. Oh, buy the hoodies, by the way. houseofjohal.com. JOUHAL. Check out the pod we do with Angad. Discord group is on the Patreon. So if you want to join the Discord and be part of these convos, you're going to have to join the Patreon. And then you have to pay. And then you get access to the Discord link. Akkala.